last night right after the market closed. And again, we talk about that last hour trade being very difficult, and that, of course, is the case, as always. And now we're just trading down here. We got to see if the market's going to continue this little sell-off, or are we going to kind of base out? We don't know. All we know is we gave you the levels that we have, and those are areas that we're going to focus in on to give us our opportunities to scalp the market. Those are areas that we're going to be focused on that we think that might give us an opportunity for 2, 3, or 4 points on some of our trades that we're looking at. Now that could change depending on volatility and intraday volatility. That could change also. Like yesterday afternoon, if you were trading, you saw what happened. You would have had to adjust a little bit, but nonetheless, you have to stay focused and take advantage of the situations when they present themselves. All right. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat box area. Good morning there, Sam. We have our levels. If you look at the chat box area, those are our levels that are imprinted there for us. You can use those as a guide to the day. You can add to them. We can add to them, subtract from them. It all depends on market volatility and price action. So the combination of both give us those levels that we work on and focus in on. Now, tomorrow is unemployment, so market might be a little bit quiet later on this afternoon. But again, we're trading off the heels of the rotation here from what do you call it, the Facebook situation. And we kind of flush quickly down here to our 07 area now. I'll work in this little 07 area. Again, scaling in is probably what we suggest, but if you can't scale in, and we're getting a nice quick 3 points here rotation off of our 07 area. So our first level of support there worked very nicely for us. If you were able to get in, maybe got in at a cheaper price, and you got at least 4 points here very nicely. You got 5 points if you held on, if you're scaling out. Again, everybody scales differently. Everybody puts in different orders. You have different number of contracts that you trade. Nobody trades the same here. Hopefully we understand that. And so we give you areas to focus in on. How you get into them is dependent on your risk tolerance. How you get out of them is dependent on your risk tolerance. We're trying to find those areas of inflection to give us an opportunity to scalp the market. And that's what we are doing here on an everyday basis. Based on our first level, we did okay there, and a quick rotation quickly down to the 7 area. And we came all the way back up here to our pivots. A nice rotation there against our first level of support. We got down to 05, so it took just a little bit of heat, but it got down there so quickly that you probably didn't even notice. I didn't even notice. But hopefully you were able to, yes, we have to place our orders in the market before they get to it. Obviously, I wouldn't have been able to put my orders in there after the fact because it happened so fast. I mean, we have our stops in place as well. So not only do you put your orders in place, but your stops are also set in place when the orders are triggered. So it's just not a one-way situation here. And nice little trade there. If you did jump in there against our 20, did get up to 22. So I guess maybe some of you did not get in there to 22. We're looking at the 24 area. Our 22 is our blue band area there. Yeah, so we also place, like I said, we place our orders in place. In addition to our orders, we place our stops and are automatically set up as well. Some of you set up with your profit targets as well are already placed in the order book when you get filled. It all depends on how you manage your trades, right? Everybody trades a little bit differently, so you have to understand the risk involved and trade it accordingly. But yes, usually my orders are already in place when I give them out. So my 24 area is already in there on the upside. And now I'm on the downside. I'm looking at more at the 98 areas, my next level of support that I have. Yeah, the blue band is kind of got you there, Don. Sorry. Thanks for helping me out yesterday. I appreciate it. Can we repeat the levels again in the chat if you can, as we quickly come back up here to our the 24 area there here, if you are looking to see where we're at. There, if you look at the chat box area, you see our levels that we gave out when the day started. Again, we can add to them, subtract from them, delete them, tweak them. And those are areas that we feel that are important for us to focus in on to give us an opportunity to scalp the market. Again, we're looking at 3 to 4 points opportunities. Sometimes we'll get more, sometimes we'll get less. It all depends on volatility. Lately, we've been obviously getting our fills and rotations off of them very nicely. We adjust those targets as well. Again, we were last week, because of the volatility, we were looking at 7 or 8 points on these moves that we were looking at, because the market was having that much slippage involved. And we come up here to the 24 area and get a nice little rotation here off of it, and you got your 3 points here very easily. So nice little trade there if you did jump in there against our 24 area. Again, the markets are moving very swiftly. Got to have your orders in place and take your profits as well. It's just a matter of how you manage your trades, I guess, is important. And now we continue to rally here. We did get up to the 24 and change and then come right back down. I said 3 or 4 point stops we have. So we're looking at the same amount of profit targets as well. So we got down to 3 points right now is what we're looking at. Again, those change as well, depending on, if we get volatile or not. Last week, like I said, we were at 7 and 8. We had to take into consideration the slippage that was involved with the thinned out markets. It's still thin. The markets are still thin in regard to orders in the order book, but at least it's a little bit more controlled. The volume isn't as crazy like at this time last week, where we were trading over 700,000 contracts. Right now we're at almost 400, so a bit of a difference. Yeah. In the volatility this week versus last week. All right, so our first level of support, I wish I would have told you to hold on to your 07s to get up here to our 24s. That would have been nice. I know some of you took a lot more than a couple points on those trades. Hopefully you did, and we'll see what happens. All right, so market here trading on the heels of some bad numbers from Facebook. And not only was it bad numbers from Facebook, but their outlook was even worse. They did not even like the outlook. They were just not happy campers whatsoever. So the market is gyrating back here down to our blue band. If you are trading our blue band area, taking a nice little rotation here off of it. I mean, the markets are moving very fast. We are getting fills both ends really quickly. If you are just finding those areas of inflection that we believe might work. And these areas or these price action opportunities are all dependent on, your risk tolerance. Not everybody takes every trade out there. Not everybody can recognize every trade that we're looking for. We have an education course that teaches you what to look for, what to focus in on, why some of these trades would work, understanding the risk involved and placing your orders accordingly. And I work with everybody individually here to try to maximize profits so that you can, we'll try to understand your risk so you can maximize profits is what I want to say. So that's what we do here on an everyday basis, in addition to our trading room that you are listening to. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat box area. We don't mind questions. All right, nice rotation there against our blue band. First rotation to it on the downside worked very nicely as well. Now we like to average about 4 or 5 trades a day. I think these days with the volatility where it's at, we're probably getting a lot more than that. But there are times when things slow down and the volatility index is not very high, and we don't trade as much. And if you look at the chat box area, for those of you who might have just jumped in here, you'll see the levels that we gave out this morning. 7 on the downside was our first support area, as you can see, and we bounced off of that, got down to 5, and then a nice rotation back up here. We got up to our 24 area, which triggered another opportunity there, and a nice quick rotation off of that. Now we're just kind of pivoting back and forth here, kind of trying to figure out what it wants to do. Let's see here if we have any numbers coming out this morning. We had initial claims already. We have PMI composite coming out here in about momentarily. So we have a little quick number coming out here that might affect the market right in about half a minute or so. So be a little bit careful if you're trading. We don't like to have any positions on when there's fundamental news release and there's something going to be released here momentarily. And then at 9 o'clock, ISM services and factory orders are coming out. So a couple numbers at the top of the hour in about 15 minutes. We'll see what this number does here, and we'll go from there. All right, the pivot players would have taken maybe the first rotation to pivot, but it was right on the number, so very, very risky if you did take it. All right, a little follow through rotation here. Again, market absorbing the number, trying to figure out which way it wants to go. Again, trading right around our pivot area here, so we're kind of neutral. Don't really have an opinion one way or the other right now. We don't usually have opinions. That's not what we try to do here. We try to stay away from opinions. Opinions usually gets us in trouble. So we kind of try to stay focused and take advantage of the price action opportunities that might occur. So this number is being released, trying to figure out where it wants to go. It's trading both sides of our pivot, so a little bit neutral here for us. Let's see. And just like that, a volatility that came back, a tarnished earnings report from Meta Platforms or Facebook, dented whatever sentiment the market seemed to take a hold over the last few days following the big reverberations seen in January. Shares of Meta tumbled 23% after hours on Wednesday, wiping out $200 billion in market cap, while the worries spilled over to NASDAQ futures, which slid 2% overnight. It's a black eye quarter, said some analysts. And, investors were surprised by weaker user growth, while Meta gave a disappointing sales forecast for the current period. 27 to 29 billion versus the 30 that they were expecting. Looking under the surface, one can see the vast majority of Facebook's revenue comes from targeted advertising, though the company has been severely hurt by Apple's privacy changes, which will result in a $10 billion hit in 22. Zuckerberg also acknowledged that Meta is facing serious competition for user time and attention, thinking TikTok, causing the company to pivot into a whole new arena, the metaverse. Okay. All right, we continue to downtick here. Next support level we have is down at the 98 area. When Facebook sneezes, it's no surprise that other social media companies catch a cold. Related stocks crumbled in after-hour sessions on Wednesday. Was shares of Twitter falling 8%, Pinterest dropping 10%, Snap slipping more than 17% for good measures. Semi-social name Alphabet or Google was also in the red, falling 2%, even though it flexed its muscle during the regular trading day following upbeat quarterly earnings numbers. All right, so market is kind of hanging around our pivot area there, not really they ran it up once, didn't like it, came back, and they ran it down, didn't like it. Now we're back here at our pivot. We'll see which way it wants to go. Next support level we have is down at the 98 area. Patience is important. We do have a couple numbers going to be released at the top of the hour here, so in about 11 minutes. So we'll see what they add to the equation or not. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. We are trading mini S&Ps here, equity futures, stock futures, S&Ps, whatever you want to call them. All right, we did go down to 09 and pop back up here a little bit. Again, kind of just very, very neutral here right now. So patience is important. Pressure is growing on the ECB to raise its interest rates as Eurozone inflation hit a record 5.1 in January, topping the estimates by most in 2 decades. Until now, the ECB has lagged other central banks in responding to escalating price pressures and has said it wouldn't increase its key interest rates until the end of the next bond purchasing, meaning not very likely hike until in 22. I don't think that it's something happening at the Fed is bound to happen in Europe, said ECB President Lagarde. She said back in December, but now that they have more inflation, so you never know, a little pressure there. Forex currency traders are meanwhile preparing for an exciting session today with meetings of both the ECB and the Bank of England. Any signs of hawkishness from Lagarde could see the euro recover lost ground against the pound, though she may be more hesitant to do so given the January core inflation figures, which strips out volatile components like food and energy, actually eased to 2.3% from 2.6% in December. That contrasts with the US, which saw core inflation rise 5.5% to last month to an over headline rate of 7%. So we're just kind of trotting along. I want you to do anything over there on the other side of the pond. Pond's rotating to the downside here a little bit. A lot. All right, we're back here at our pivot, so kind of a quiet little situation, even though it's moving, but hard to get involved in any trade here because we already tested our 07 area. We got down there to 8 and change, came back up. So kind of, kind of waiting now, be patient. We do have a couple numbers that can be released here in about 7 minutes. So we'll see what that does to the market. All right, so we've got ISM services index coming out now, and the factory orders numbers. And remember, tomorrow is unemployment before we open up here, so we'll see what that brings to the table. All right, things have slowed down just a little bit. Let these numbers come out and see what happens from there. This is like the no trade zone over here. Maybe, can go either way from here. So there's no reason to take a guess or gander or whatever you want to call it and try to figure out where it's going to go. Let's just be patient and wait for opportunities to present themselves. All right, down here on the lows, our next support level we have is down at the 98 area. Going down and retested the low here and come back up. We got a number coming out here in about 2 minutes. Let's see what that's going to bring or not. Maybe it'll give us a rotation here, but we're still kind of retested the low there, coming back in here to the range. Again, if you were a little aggressive, maybe you retested a low. Depends on your risk tolerance. We again, everybody here has different risk tolerances. You have to understand the risk involved and trade accordingly. All right, the number is going to be coming out here in about a minute or so, so be mindful of that as we're here trading on the lows. All right, we'll see what happens here with this number. Looks like if we trade below 03, maybe we'll have a run down to that 98 area. As you can tell, the ladder ticket is pretty thinned out there. The number is released here. Trying to figure out what it wants to do itself. It doesn't know. And not every number is going to have a reaction in the market, right? But we just don't know what's going to happen. So why are we going to have any positions on it? Deal with the aggravation of not knowing. It's bad enough when we, have levels and we think the day would work. We still don't know, but at least we have good reasons to put them on. And besides that, every time I've had position on when numbers come out, they always to be the wrong position. So I try to get flat this way. All right, market kind of just drifting around here. Yeah, just kind of trying to see where it wants to go. It doesn't know what it wants to do. So, last thing we want to do is create commissions and just start trading for no reason. All right, that's the worst thing that can happen because God knows, I hate to give those people money, brokers. All right, just kind of swiftly backing up here to our pivot, kind of again, kind of going nowhere fast here. There was a retest down there of the low, which maybe if you were a little aggressive, you wanted to take it. And as long as you put your stop in place, we said anything below 3, you might want to rotate to the next level down below. So I did bounce off of our blue band there a little bit. If you were a little aggressive, again, there's many trades that we could take. It all depends on your risk tolerance, your recognition of the trade, you implement, putting those trades in there and putting your stops in place. All these things are part of the what we talk about here to try to help you maximize profits. And recognition of the trade is one aspect of what we try to do. And then the second part of it is the execution part, which is what is on each trader here. So recognition of the trade is what we try to show you, and then obviously the execution part of it is on your end, that you have to decide which trades that you recognize, visualize, and then execute accordingly. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat box area. And since the market's really not doing anything, it's a good time to ask questions. It's always a good time to ask questions. It's the blue band there, Don. You keep fighting it. We're kind of hanging right around our pivot area, so very, very quiet trade. I don't use NinjaTrader, but doesn't mean that you don't have to. That platform is just a matter of preference, what you like. So I mean, we're not part of any trading group or anything like that, so you are welcome to use any platform you have or any charting service you have. That's not so it's up to you. All right, market here just kind of again holding our trading on both sides of our pivot. Really, I mean that's all it's doing here. We have our resistance around our first level there at 24, so that level is not viable. Next level on the upside we have is up at 32. That's the next level that I'll be focusing on. So unfortunately, when it gets like this, you have to be patient, and that's why we We said before that we like to average 4 or 5 trades a day. That's what we're looking for. So, and this is when it gets quiet and doesn't move around that much, and we have to trade accordingly. We've been averaging way more than 4. We've had 4 trades easily. I think you could have easily had 4 or 5 trades today, depending on what your risk tolerances are. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask and share a little bit more information on the history of how you develop the levels you use. The history, I don't know if it's history, but it's basically what we use is our technical analysis to give us the levels, to find the levels that we are using and putting out. Maybe the concepts of why we would use those levels is what we try to teach in our education course, but nothing here is, it's just basic, does some technical analysis that we think that works for us and works for us with equities. So it's not a secret. It's just how you perceive or how you look at a chart and what we're looking at when we're looking at charts, and seems to work for us. So that's really not that much of a. It's just a matter of some technical analysis and understanding why we would use a level and why we wouldn't, and then you kind of taking those concepts and ideas forward and putting them to use on an everyday basis. All right, as you can see, we're just hanging around our pivot. Seems to be gravitating back to it. Kind of going nowhere fast here. We're moving, but again, guessing which way, why you would want to buy levels or sell levels. And we did give you an out on the downside below. We said below 3. You probably maybe push around, make a run down to the 98 area. So maybe if you're a little aggressive, you bottom down there. At least you know where your exit strategy is. Really, the upside, since we already tested 24, we're probably looking at 32, and there's really nothing that's setting up for us to say that we want to buy it to get up to that 32. So it's a little bit of a better setup for us on the downside than there is on the upside. Basically, we're just hanging around our pivot. All right, back here to our pivot. It's one of those days. We haven't had one of these days in a very long time. All right, just have not had one of these days in a very, very long time. But hey, with unemployment tomorrow, with the reaction to uh, Facebook's earnings, so maybe they'll just kind of settle in here for a bit. I don't know. Wait for unemployment tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Again, you never know with these markets. You never know what's going to affect the market. You never know what geopolitical situation might come out during the trade. You never know what the Fed government might say or not say. Uh, you always got to stay awake and keep your stops in place because we're always the last ones to know. You know, just the nature of the beast. That's all. Oh well, look at that! Finally broke out of this little range to the upside here a little bit. Next level on the upside is 32. That's what we're looking at. All right, so market pushed up again. You would have been guessing if you told me it was going to go up here or go back down low. It was trading on both sides of our pivot, so kind of very unknown. But it's coming up here, and now we're trying to see what it wants to do. The next level of resistance we have is up at 32. Patience is important. Staying away from the chop. All right, so just kind of hanging up here. Again, if anybody has any questions, good time to ask. Very, very quiet today. Not taking a breather, waiting for the unemployment number tomorrow, trying to figure out, uh, what is going to happen with, are we going to follow through on Facebook's bad number or not? As we come up here to the 32 area now. All right, nice little rotation here against the 32 area. All right, nice little rotation here against our 32 entry, our little short there against the 32. And nice little scalping opportunity for us. Again, your order should be kind of, it's an example of not, if you didn't have your order in place, you're probably not going to get filled because it kind of got up there and traded off really quick. So your order's got to be in place. Like I said, your stops are also in place. So we're looking for 3 or 4 points. We've gotten our 3 points now. And if you have extra contracts, you're going to try to hold it for a little bit lower move. But a nice little trade there for us if you did jump in. Took a little bit of patience. We kept telling you, let's be patient. Let's wait for the opportunity. Hopefully you were able to stay away from the chop there around our pivot area. And you had a nice little rotation here off of our 32 level. Again, if anybody has any questions, this is what we do here on an everyday basis. We have an education course that teaches you how to find these levels, understand why they would work, understand why they wouldn't work, and adjusting them a little bit if you have to based on the price action. All these things are part of our education course, and the goal is to maximize your profits because everybody here has different risk tolerances. All right, so nice trade there. If you have any contracts left over, you're maybe having a trailing stop with anything else. The markets are not volatile enough that you could actually have a trailing stop and actually try to milk it for a little bit. Probably coming down to the 22, 23 areas where I would cover if you have any. If you have a contract or two that you still have a trailer on. But this is a way to take more than 3 or 4 points on a trade here. If you're trading multiple contracts, we got right down to 23 there and pop back up. Hopefully we're able to cover them down there. And a nice little pop back up here. So again, this is how we like to take a little bit more than 2 or 3 points on our trades. You're putting in orders in the market, flipped quickly down to 23 and change, 22 and change, and came right back up. So hopefully you have to have your order in there to be able to get filled. Markets are moving that quickly these days this is what's happening. You find the area, you put your order in, and then you gotta let the market kind of do its thing. Either way, your stop, your order, your trailing stop, whatever it is, right? If anybody has any questions, again, feel free to ask in the chat box area. We had to display a little bit of patience here against waiting for our 32 area. But if you took no heat on that whatsoever and a nice rotation off of it, and you could have easily scaled out more than 3 or 4 points on that trade. If you're trading more than one lot, if you're trading your one lot, then you're just taking your profits and moving on. Nothing wrong with taking profits. All right. If I knew we were going to break 10 points off of that 32, I would have told you to hold on. Believe me. I don't know. But everybody, some people ask me, oh, the market's going up. Why aren't we buying it if the market's going down? Why aren't we buying it? I wish I could tell you that it was going to go up or go down. But the same thing here. You had a perfect entry point there against our 32. Could some of you take 10 points out of it, maybe ride it for a little bit? Yeah, if I would have known that was going to happen, I would have told you to do that. So, for those of you who are looking for momentum trades, and some of them, like I said, we would have had a momentum trade on the downside if we got below 3, looking for our 98, but we never got down there. This is a way of trying to ride this momentum from our level to the downside here against the fade. So it does work both ways. It depends on what your momentum trade means, right? So it is what it is. Are levels valid only one time? Yeah, well, it depends. Depends. There are times where if we went and touched a level and we come back, there are times when we retest it. So I wouldn't say there's a blanket. No, I wouldn't retest. I wouldn't retest the level. But I would say most of the time, if the level's been triggered, I wouldn't try it again. It's a lot riskier. Let's put it that way. So it goes back to each individual's risk tolerance. So if you understand the risk, and what we try to do is explain the risk to you, when you would use it, when you wouldn't, and then you have to take, appropriately trade according to your risk tolerance. So the goal here of our education course is for you to become an independent trader, to find levels on your own, to be able to understand the risk involved, to understand when to put them on, when not to put them on, and when to retest it, when not to. And then you have to make that determination on your own so that you can do this without me squawking in your ear or your microphone or your headphones or wherever you're listening to me from. But hey, if you like me squawking, I'm here. Okay. Thanks there, Philip. I appreciate it. So now do we test our nearby level? Well, we wait for our next level to trigger. We do have some price action opportunities, again, depending on how aggressive you want it to be. That's up to you. There's a little bit of support there around the 15, 16 area if you're a little aggressive. If you are waiting for the levels, and the next level on the upside we have is up at 41. That would be our next level of resistance. Downside, maybe if we get below 10, we go retest the lows, but there's a lot of back and forth in those areas. So it's kind of hard to get anything, solid. Again, it's all a matter of how much do you want to trade, right? I mean, how much money have you made this morning on the levels that we had? And does that meet your requirements of your goals for the day, right? I mean, do you want to just keep trading for trading's sake? Because it seems to happen if we do that, then you're going to get yourself wrapped up in commissions and trading because you feel like you have to. Versus if you made your money in the morning and you made your goals, you set your goals and you're happy with it, then there's always tomorrow, right? I mean, if the markets were moving around a little bit, it'd be a different story. But they're kind of range bound here, and they're trading a lot slower than it has been. So again, what's your goal? What is your goal of trading? If you made your goal for as far as the amount of money that you made today, is that a bad thing, or do you want to keep trading? if you, I can tell you honestly, if you keep trading, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble, because I've done that. And I've learned, and this is what we do here. We focus more in the morning hours to focus on the opportunities, because I think that the ebbs and flows in the morning are give us good opportunities as far as what we're trading and how we trade and our methodology that we're trading. And then as the day goes on, the players are different. There's different dynamics of the market that are occurring that are not there, like in the afternoon. I mean, they're not there in the morning, but they're there in the afternoon. So we kind of, stay focused. If you made your money, be happy with it, and understand that there's going to be a day tomorrow that we can look for and try again. And like I said, the last thing that you want to do here is create commissions, and then of course not only create commissions, but have the ability to always can lose money, because like I said, the dynamics change in the afternoon. So do you want to do that? Do you want to risk, if you made some money this morning, and if you just traded our levels alone, forget about any price action opportunities that we had, you did great today. All right, so we've had 3 trades just on our levels. If you look at our levels, we've had a couple price action opportunities that I've talked about, a couple bounces off our blue bands, maybe a rotation back to our pivot initially. And there's other opportunities that occurred there. If you were aggressive, we've had at least 5 trades, 6 trades. So, that's the philosophy here. And that's why we focus more on the morning hours. And again, the philosophy is not coming from a place that I haven't been to. I mean, there's one person here that likes to trade, is me. And I've had to adjust since I got out of the pits, not to trade as much and not to trade all day and wait. Nothing more painful than having to wait. Hey, no problem there, Patrick. Hope you spend more time here. Sounds like you're saying goodbye. All right. Well, you take care. Have a good day. Yeah, Pat, it's kind of a weird. To be focused more on Facebook's numbers than Google's numbers is kind of a little weird. I don't know. What do I know? All right. So nice rotation against our 32. And next level of resistance we have is up at 41. Support, if you're aggressive, would be 15, 16 area if you're aggressive. Do our levels work on strong trend days or very volatile days? Well, our volatile days are always good, back and forth. Again, we make adjustments to volatile days by um, uh, expanding our stops and profit targets, because we have to take into consideration the slippage that might occur. So right now we're looking at 3 or 4 points on our stops because the volatility and is kind of where it's at for 3 or 4 points. Last week, we were, because of the volatility, we were looking more at 7 or 8 points stops. And again, that's just to take into consideration the slippage that might occur, but we also get those profit targets as well. So for volatile days, we adjust. And as an individual trader, if you can't handle the volatility and you can't handle 7 or 8 point stops, then you just wait and things will settle down, like I kept saying last week, and we'll get back into quote unquote normal trade, right? Something that maybe the volatility you can handle. And we always get back to normal trade at some point. All right. It's very rare that we have an expanded amount of volatility that, everybody gets tired of that. Even the traders who are trading that volatility on a large scale get tired of that too. So, and as far as trend days are concerned, downward trend days are advantageous to us. They give us good ebbs and flows. For whatever reason, upward trend days, if they're especially in the afternoon and they're one-way trade, is not our cup of tea. And we make mention of that to everybody here, that if we have upward trend days that are contained, slow, one-way trade, then those kind of upward trend days don't help us. With downward trends, though, there's much more volatility on the downside than there is going on the upside. So you have to know the trade that we're in, you have to know the market we're in and the trade that's there. And then, as long as we understand which days are good for us, and then you can trade them accordingly. So. All right. If those of you might have come in late, you see the chat box here. If you bring up the chat, you will see the levels that Don has put up for us. Those are levels that we use as a guide to the day. They're there for us to help us kind of guide us, look for areas of inflection that we feel the market might give us an opportunity to trade. Those are there for us all day, and we can add to them, subtract from them, delete some of them, whatever the situation may be. They're there for us to kind of guide us and give us opportunities or areas to focus in on more than anything else. Again, we focus more on the morning hours here to help us with our opportunities to trade. And again, I think the longer you trade, the longer, especially if you've made money this morning, then you get into the tough little trade in the afternoon that kind of is, the dynamics definitely change as the day goes on. That's a good question. How much snow did we get since there's not much to talk about as far as trading is concerned? That's a good question. It depends on where you lived, actually. If you're more in the north part of Illinois, and we're talking about only 20-mile difference. If you were in 11 north, which is where I live at, northern part of, if you're familiar with Chicago or Illinois, I live around the border of Cook County and Lake County. So that's the northern part of Illinois. Lake County is is the county below Wisconsin. And then there's Cook County, which is huge, right? So we were right on the northern part of Cook County, which is, we got like maybe I'd say 3 to 4 inches, maybe 5. If you go just about 10 miles to the south, they have had 5 or 6. If you, my kids who live in the city, about 20 miles, 25 miles south, got like 8. So if you go more south into the border of Indiana, you were at 10, 12. I mean, it varied, but more north to south was getting really smacked. So I guess we got lucky. I mean, where I live, I got lucky. My kids, well, they don't live in houses except for my one daughter, but she lives up north, so she didn't get too bad. But yeah, they were pretty much stuck at home. The traffic around here was brutal yesterday. Like everywhere around the country, they had to close down a couple of the highways because of the snow was just, it wasn't passable. They couldn't keep up with the snow. The roads were just getting snow filled. So it wasn't like we've had like worse snowstorms around here. That's for sure. So yeah, the ice was bad down in Texas. Did they keep the power on at least this time around? Or was the governor able to keep the power on? So far, good. He was getting a lot of heat. No pun intended. All right, we're kind of hanging around the upper level here. So see what it wants to do. The next level of resistance we have is up at 41. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. We're getting here to the end of our morning session. Again, we focus more on the morning session to give us our opportunities. We feel we get good ebbs and flows, good opportunities. The market's dynamics suit our methodology. Don, it ain't going to be 45 here for another month. And you're complaining about it's 45 now and it's cold. Okay. I hate to tell you that it ain't. I'm looking at the weather here in Chicago. The high for the next 10 days is one day it's going to be 38. That's the high. I mean, that's if you believe in all this like future forecasts. And you're complaining about Oh, it's 45. Oh, it's going to get down to 29. Okay, great. Ooh. I mean, I guess it's below freezing. I guess that's bad. But it's amazing. All right, we're getting a little bit choppy in there. All right, coming down here to our blue band area. Support around the 16 area, 15, 16. Got down to 19 and pop back up. I mean, again, if you're aggressive, you're looking for a trade, maybe you're taking it, but all right. So the other part about trading is that if you up money and you're going to be defensive when you're trading because you don't want to give it back, and so your aggressiveness as far as your input of your trades, your opportunities that you're looking for, are not going to be as focused. If you're up money and you're just trying to find another trade for the hell's sake of finding another trade. So that's the other aspect of over trading that occurs. When things kind of slow down and markets they're moving, but they're kind of slow comparatively. And so you always tend to let's see if I can, this trade might work because I'm bored and I did nothing. And So let's try this trade. So you put it on, but it's not really the best idea. And you're like, oh gosh. So that's another aspect of why we focus more on the morning hours to give us our opportunities. And then, especially if you banked your money and you got a goal and you've reached those goals, and there's always tomorrow. I think you're more aggressive coming out of the blocks than you are if you're just, trading for trading's sake because you have to.
Hey, quick shout out and a couple programming notes. Hey, Rosemary, welcome back. Hey, Timothy, it looks like you're in twice. I'm not sure if that's on purpose. I had a couple inquiries. I just stepped out for a minute. I just got back about Saul's discount opportunity for his services. So I'm going to send them out now. It's going to come out for everybody. It's pretty self-explanatory. The special discount is usually $3.99 a month to be here. You know, I always say if you haven't made your $3.99 today, we can help you in the academy. Hey, Timothy, no worries. You know, individuals will have this on their computer and also on their phone. So I just wanted to make sure you weren't hearing double when you didn't want to. Any questions, Bernard, Diane, John C., welcome. May, welcome. Hey, Patrick. Rosemary, let me know if you're signed up and in. Sam, same. Looks like we had a pretty good morning. Appreciate you all being here. This is Trade Along Live with Saul. This is his Trade Along session. Got traders from all over the globe. Appreciate you being here. If you want to join us, it's tradealonglive.com. Tradealonglive.com is the registration for the Zoom webinar or this Zoom webinar. You're coming in as a guest. We ask individuals that come in as guests to roll over pretty quickly, and based on the discount, I'm sure that we got a lot of people signing up today, so we appreciate it. If you like what we're doing here, tell your friends on social media. We've had a number of people do that, and we really appreciate it, so take the time to get it done for us. You can use tradealonglive.com, tradealonglive, Live.com, as the link to come in and register. It's a guest opportunity to come in and check this out. If you're a new trader and you need charting, let us know. We can point you in the right direction. If you're looking for somebody to teach you how to trade, take you under their wing, Saul's the person that does that. Saul's a 25-year veteran trader of the trading pits in Chicago. He's actively scalping on a daily basis. And he's the one to do that for you. Takes you into private Zoom class. You know, we've broken this down, and we've got the Trading Academy and the Trade Along Live session. Trading Academy, Saul teaches you one-on-one, teaches you how he makes his money, how he does his business, teaches you his price action trading methodology, the entries, exits, and stops, how to set his proprietary scalping levels. And then he invites you in here on a daily basis, which is the Trade Along Live session, as a proving ground and an access point to him as you're applying your newfound trading skills. So that is a taught opportunity for you to really be schooled and then worked with as you're applying your newfound trading skills. That's what we call the training part of what we do on a daily basis, the training part. We also have this service, which is a standalone. It's an introduction to what we do. We have individuals that come in, they roll over, and they pay. Actually, that sounds pretty funny, right? You have to roll over to pay. Well, we just ask you to roll out of being a guest into a paid subscriber. And we ask you to do that on your own, you know, without any real pressure or that type of thing. We do exit people on a regular basis. They do get frustrated, and I said, oh, listen, we've been talking for weeks about signing up and we have to kick them out. We don't want to. So don't let that happen to you. So I just sent it out to you. It's out to everybody. It's in the chat area. Take a moment. Also send out our website link, which gives you an opportunity to peruse the website and pick your opportunity. Starts out with looking to trade better. And then it gives you the trade along tradingacademy.com, be a trading winner. Which I put that together myself, and I think I did the right thing there. All right, so I'll be in the background if you need me. Hope everybody had a great trading day. Remember, if you want to come in here right into Zoom, and you want to be part of it, tradealonglive.com, tradealonglive.com. And again, tell your friends, pass it around in social media, and have them come in.